on Twitch.
So I assume that's pretty good, huh?
Yeah,
So all right, let them know we back. We back.
I have
Thanks for
friends who've
staying.
been doing Twitch that for a while that don't have that yet.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
now
pretty
you're
much if
broadcasting an empty apartment.
bro, it's all good. It's all good. Most of my
It's
people that came over
amazing.
here
You
from
only
Twitter.
lost like half the people. The other half are still here.
Yeah, I know. Hopefully we get them back in here
Empty
once we
couch
get
stream.
going.
Hashtag empty couch. And we're all dorks. Okay. And here he comes.
This is the kind of production quality you can expect. At the progressive martial artist. I feel like this is a good time to plug my Patreon. Help me out. We see what we're going with. You see what we're doing with here.
Okay. So now that we're back, hi everyone. Yeah, so my thing about the election is everybody's saying this is all about COVID, but COVID has two parts. It has the human cost, it has the economic cost. This country goes by economy. And when you go by economy, they're going to go for Trump. Because when you look at the markers of not the economy for like little people like us, like real people, when you go by markers of like people like Jeff Bezos and like the stock market, that has been going up. That has effectively recovered. So, if you're talking COVID economy, that that bodes well for Trump. If you're talking COVID cost of life, that bodes poorly for Trump. But
Right.
unfortunately, we are not a nation of empathy, which
Yeah,
is
but
Not at
why we
all.
don't
the
have
thing is,
Medicare for all.
I mean, this is why I think Biden still gets it, is that Democrats have an electoral advantage at the end of the day.
Because more
So
people are voting.
you got more Democrats. You just flat out have more Democrats in the country. So, Trump appeals to his base,
Yeah,
but independents decide the election for the most part. And they're not siding with Trump on COVID. It's just affected too many people's lives.
you're
Because
right. There are more Democrats. And so the thing that could sway it is the fact that more people are voting because it's easier to vote. Because, mail in
yeah,
ballots, the vote ballot just comes to your house. All you have to do is just mail it back. It's the
well,
easiest
so
way.
but so that brings up the asterisk to this whole election is that we don't know some of this stuff because we don't know the impact that these things are going to have, that we can all vote early for the first time mail-in ballots.
Right.
And it'll be the first time that all these secretary of states have tremendous power to determine the outcomes of these elections in their states. They can just rule one way because the secretary of state has to rule on the ballots, and it could be totally illegal.
Mhm.
But if the Supreme Court is going to have their back on it, it doesn't really fucking matter. So
Which again
there
swings the
are
momentum
unknowns.
back to Trump.
Yeah, no. I mean, I definitely put the asterisk on my Biden vote with that. That could happen, but it has to be close for that to happen.
Well, that's why I keep saying the tie goes to the incumbent. I've always said that if it's a close race, Trump wins. It's that simple. And it's looking like it's a close race because if you look at all the polls, the only places where Biden has a clear lead are the Democratic states. The places, most of the swing states, Biden's lead is within the margin of error. And
Yeah, that's what I
again,
was looking at. I was
people
looking
are
at some articles right
forgetting
now. I was like, dang. Like,
exactly. His lead is within the margin of error. On top of that, everybody's forgetting that silent Trump voter, which is a real thing. That's how he won in 2016. And it's all about the swing states. And to me, the main swing state is Pennsylvania. If Trump wins Pennsylvania, he wins. If Biden wins
Yeah,
Pennsylvania, he wins.
but I think you'll have a there's a bit of a silent Biden vote, believe it or not. I think because there's a very the
I don't
a
believe it
lot
because
of
those fuckers are loud as hell.
a lot of the suburban Republican moms, they don't like Trump's racism and sexism and shit. I mean, it exists, and they're not going to be vocalizing that vote either because they're in red states. So I really think Biden's going to get a crawler and get away with this thing.
they've been saying the youth vote like numbers are up insane based on early voting, but I can never tell how I should take that seriously or not because like of course the early voting numbers will be up because COVID. So I'm like, is that like real? Is that like real blowout numbers or is that the kind of numbers you can just expect because we're in the pandemic. Because so they keep running those stories. I'm like, I don't know if that's real or not. Like, of course there's gonna be
I
way more early voters in
yeah.
COVID. Like, so like I don't know if that really shows that Biden about to blow them out or does it not? Because obviously all the Trump people like fuck early voting. I mean, you never know. A lot of them may be hypocrites. Trump was. I mean, Trump used to early vote and used to mail in vote all the time, even though he rarely gets it now. It's obviously a strategy on his part. It's working for the right apparently. Well, they because if you look at Trump, if you like look at Trump Twitter and you look at their what they believe, they truly believe they're gonna win this election. like there's no doubt in Trump supporters' mind that they're gonna win. Even some Senate Republicans are starting to speak out against Trump a little bit more. They starting to push back against Trump because they seeing that, oh shit, I don't know if Trump got just locked up like we expected him to. But I don't. Jackie, what she brought up is important too. Cause I was looking at the article and it was showing like when you look at those swing states, when you look at Arizona, when you look at Pennsylvania, they are within the margin of error. And
Right.
if
But I mean, part of it too, though, is that they've tightened to be within the margin of error. But early
yeah,
voting has gone on for a long time, so like it's not like this closing gap is as significant as it was in past elections because there's so many votes in.
yeah, absolutely. There's this poll on CNN. I'm just seeing. I guess the Karen vote really is coming out, huh?
Karen vote.
That what they were talking about earlier. Biden up 66%, Trump's up 32%. Trump is 49%, Biden 47 on men. So I think this is like that's the early vote numbers, but you never know the day when the election day, we see what's gonna happen. I'm still leaning towards Biden, but I can see it going anywhere. I can see it either going either way. I think our screen's blacked out again.
I don't think that. Wait, everything just went black again.
Yeah, 1 second. This thing is
Um,
playing.
Are we? Can they hear us? Or are we down again?
Can y'all hear me?
I can hear you.
All right, I don't know why.
Oh, okay, they can hear us. They can still hear us. All
Yeah,
right,
they can
so
hear us. I don't
they
know
can
why
hear us, they
my
just can't see us. I don't know.
yeah, I don't know why my screen went down.
That way. Yeah, everybody's saying they can hear us. All right, cool.
All right, cool.
So when you guys are saying the Karen vote, are you talking about like Karen's coming out for Biden? Because Karens were always Biden voters.
Yeah, yeah.
They are like the Karens are like I think people have painted this picture of them being conservative because a few conservative Karens came out during like coronavirus to show how like ugly they can be. But in general, like as being a person.
There we go. I have no idea what I keep doing. Let me put it back up on here now. All right, full screen that. It just keep crashing on. There we go. We back. We up. We should be back up now. There we are. Yep, we're back. We're back. We're back.
All right, we're good.
Yep.
I'm seeing it. Cool. And I love when Twitch says I'm sending messages too quickly. Thanks a lot.
Sorry, yeah, that was saying like
faster than you can keep up.
They was having a big celebration at those numbers. I was like, what? Who do you guys think I was making fun of the whole time? It was the Amy Coopers, the Amy Cooper Democrats. Those are the people I've been going after. I'm not gonna play around with this thing because I keep trying to pull up like videos and shit. I gotta learn how to do it a little better. I think I keep crashing it.
Okay, so basically, you want to keep OBS as your main screen.
Yeah, so
don't minimize OBS.
Okay, all right, cool. I'm still not sure what keep happening. But anyway, like I said, when I make fun of like these are the same people I see around who put Black Lives Matter on their social media page. They put that in their Twitter bios because it make them look like they're down for the cause. But when it comes to actually supporting lowering the police budget, they're against that. Those are the same people who get cited when Kamala Harris records a video of herself dancing, and they go crazy over Timberlands.
God, I fucking hate her.
These are people that get cited when she wear her Timberlands, but they don't say anything when she vote against a 10% military budget decrease. So
because they're so, these Amy Coopers are so trained by the media to think that we're just being radicals when we're bringing up her record. You know, they think we're making a slur against Kamala when we call her the top cop.
she
You know,
was
they
saying
think that's
that.
something we made up when she herself called
She
herself
said it.
California's top cop. But
Yeah.
they're trained to think this stuff, and the media hits them over the head with this. That it's just us being purist, hater, leftist, socialists, never happy people. You know, so they just don't believe the same shit we believe.
You mean like reality?
Reality, yeah.
Okay, that checks out. So yeah, one thing that I will say about this is that like you wanted to do a post-election on Wednesday. I don't think we're gonna know the results by Wednesday because
I want to feel the
states have to wait until Tuesday to count their votes. There's no way they can count it by Wednesday.
Yeah, I want to feel the vibe of the nation because I'll be watching.
Yeah.
Like, man, I've been telling people.
Is fucked.
I've been
That's the
telling
vibe
people
of
I
the
want to
nation.
take a break from politics so bad, but this is not the time to do that. Unfortunately, like there's so much
I'm
chaos
with
going
you.
on. I want to just unplug, but we can't unplug from this fight right now, especially with what's going on. So, because I'm supposed to be on the Convo couch, I'm going on there. They invited me to go on there talk do
On
their
Nico?
pre. Yeah, Nico, Isabel, their crew.
Okay.
They follow each other on Twitter. They're pretty cool. So I'm supposed to be going there on Tuesday. That's the reason I ain't doing anything on election day. I should be on that show. And then that's why I want to do our panel on Wednesday. And all right, a lot of people say they can make it, but pretty much just see how you guys feel after the election because either way, it's gonna. I've been very clear from day one. I'm gonna laugh at no matter who wins or no matter who lose. But it would be pretty devastating to see either one of these people win. Especially seeing Trump win definitely would be devastating. Seeing Biden win would be devastating because you would see a giant win from all Kamala backer, all of the Lincoln Project, Republican backers. You to see John Kasich get a cabinet spot. And what I'm worried about more than anything, which the reason why I say this election is a clown show in general. I don't see if I can pull these stats. I don't even have to pull it up on the screen. But this is what we had to deal with after the election. Jeff Stein tweeted this out. It's the dark winter. So unemployment programs for 4 million Americans about to expire. Protections for renters and student loan borrowers about to expire. The Supreme Court is going to go after the ACA, so people are going to lose health care. Government shutdown may be on December 11th. 40% of restaurants, 66% of hotels may close. And that includes 1 million travel jobs that may be on the risk. So we're gonna see a ton of businesses close. So people call me delusional. They call me delusional. They're like, "How you gonna get a general strike started, Nick? How you gonna do that?" Like people not ready for that. I'm like, people not ready for it now. You guys don't understand. This is
People
gonna get
weren't ready
worse.
for it.
This is gonna get worse. Like you guys
People
don't
were ready
understand
for it
that.
until the Pied Piper Barack Obama came out and told black people to sit down and shut up.
Yep. But
We
when
were
this
ready for it. LeBron
But
James was even gonna lead it.
I'm with you though on the optimism that we can get something started because things are so bad that that's going to push more people our way, and they're going to see anyone that put their faith in Biden is going to see, oh, Biden ain't going to do shit. We're going to know that quick.
Yeah, my
I think,
mindset.
okay, so I think there's a caveat to that. Any leftists who put their faith in Biden, the liberals who put their faith in Biden to do exactly what he's going to do. Allow them to go back to sleep. They don't want to think about politics. They don't want to think about kids in cages. They don't really give a shit who put the kids in cages. Trump is the scapegoat. Fine, let's use him. Get him out.
Right.
Everything's fine. I'm going back to brunch.
At first,
but
I was
the question
like,
is, can they sustain that illusion for long with Biden? Because the economy
before Biden even gets in, we're gonna have to go through another shutdown. Yeah. But by then it's too late. By then. Biden, like if Biden wins, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether Biden wins or Trump wins.
Yeah, we're in
the second
same
wave
situation.
has already started, and we'll have to go through a shutdown before Inauguration Day.
That's why I was screaming.
Shit's gonna hit the fan. That's why because like the CDC protection against going homeless ends at the end of the year. A lot of these protections that people are still like the little protections that people have now, they all end December 31st. Meanwhile, we'll probably be in like a huge explosion of cases And anybody who knows anything about history knows during the
Yep.
Spanish flu, it was the second wave that killed the majority of people, not the
And
first.
oh my, yes.
And the second wave has already started. Like I said, Europe's already begun their lockdown. We're about a month behind them.
Yeah. Well,
So
and
right
it
around
also is
Christmas
timed with
time
the
is when
regular
things is gonna
flu,
get back.
so that the double whammy is going to hit too.
Yeah,
Couldn't be worse, really.
exactly.
Yeah, I
And
was
then
telling you
all of
guys.
the economic protections are going to end right at the beginning of the second round of shutdowns. So it doesn't
Yeah, I'm going to be on a
matter.
podcast. And my power's just going to go out because they finally want my money. Watch.
Yeah, but you wouldn't mind. You'd be like, okay, I'm just gonna pet Murder Cat now.
I'm going to go pitch a tent somewhere.
So, but like in January is when shit's really gonna hit the fan, and it's gonna happen before Inauguration Day, no matter who wins.
And people was wondering why I was going crazy throughout the course of the debate and throughout the course of this election cycle because the oligarchs gonna do what the oligarchs gonna do, and they ignored all the important issues this election. And I was screaming, I'm like, can one reporter please ask Joe Biden that he support monthly relief check for Americans? Please, someone ask him that question. They will always ask him
They're
that
not
question.
going to because he doesn't.
Yeah, they ask him in that in a roundabout way. They think they slick, but I know when they trying to be sneaky. They'll be like, "Do you think Nancy Pelosi should take the deal?" I'm like, bro, that's not the question you should be asking them. You should be asking,
And
"Hey,
he
Joe
didn't
Biden."
answer that. He
When
pivoted
yeah,
away from that.
like he didn't even answer that. So I'm like, your question should be, Joe Biden, if you're a president, will you support monthly relief checks for Americans?
Right.
That's the question, not will you support.
Well,
Should Nancy Pelosi? That's irrelevant. Ask him what he would do when he in charge. You
You already
never
know
seen
what he
that.
would
Go
do
ahead.
because when this first happened, what did he do? He hit. When
Yep.
like even Kamala was the one, her relief package was like $500 a month or some shit, which was like, what the fuck are you gonna do with that? Nobody can even pay rent with $500 a month. But at least she had something.
Yeah.
Bernie was the one who was like $2,000 a month, rent moratorium, like all these
Can you
other
imagine
things.
if
And
Bernie was
everybody
the
was
leader
like,
in the situation?
get out of here, socialist.
Exactly.
What is Joe
Go ahead.
Biden's proposal? Nothing.
Yeah,
He
go ahead, Pat. I
proposed
think you about to say
nothing.
something earlier. Yeah.
well, I was just going to say, look, if the Democrats really wanted us to have a relief package, we'd have it already. If they wanted us to have
Exactly.
$1,000 a month, we'd have it already. I mean, just because you pass some legislation in the House that you know is going to get killed in the Senate, that's not enough. You got to get on TV every day. You got to make a branding campaign about, you need to market this idea to the public that this whole election could have been about the $1,200. The Democratic Party just does the bare minimum, and they don't leverage their leadership power. I mean, just passing something and not getting all the public massively involved in it, which is what Bernie is good at, which is why he understands how you can actually pass something. If the Republicans aren't going to pass something, the only way you change that is turn enough of the public against enough of their senators to vote for it, where it's politically a death wish for them not to give people money.
Yep. That's how it's done.
But here's the thing, though, Pat. Originally, Republicans were going to do it. Remember, Steve Mnuchin, originally, it wasn't $1,200 one time.
No, it
Mnuchin
should be a
said
separate
$1,000
bill.
a month.
Done story. $1,200
Yeah.
bucks. People are dying. When people are dying, you give them the money and you negotiate the rest of the bill separately.
Exactly.
And that was
originally Republicans were going to give us $1,000 a month, and it was the Democrats who said no, one time means tested. The Democrats are the ones holding up everything. The reason why we don't have a second stimulus is because Pelosi thinks politically it's better if the economy crashes, because that's the one thing Trump has is the economy. So if people are hurting, they're going to blame Trump and vote Democrat. That's why we don't have a second stimulus. She's playing politics.
Yep. She didn't want to give him Trump a win. She literally letting
Exactly.
a working class family
It's
struggle.
literally the only way she's resisted him at all throughout his entire time as president. She has voted for pretty much everything he wants. The only way she's resisted him is right here.
And these are
when it
the
actually hurts us, in hopes that she can gain some kind of political capital so that they can, the Democrats can flip the
Right.
Senate. That's it.
Yeah, and so if you take her on her face value that this is just where we're at and they couldn't get it negotiated, that's saying you're not going to be able to get anything negotiated until mid-January. So you're going to go 3 more months without the $1,200. I mean, the responsible thing to do is cut the $1,200, figure out everything else. Period.
Yeah, that's why Joe Biden still disqualified, because he believes in Reaganomics to his core. To this day, he still believes in that.
Because he's
So,
a Republican.
and I'm looking at his solutions to the COVID virus, and once again, the media in the Democrat Party, they think they slick. They don't trick me. They're not tricking me. Because whenever they talk about COVID, they pretend they're the adults in the room. And Biden comes out, he makes a big statement. And he says, "Oh well, we should have masks and we should have a national mask mandate." Sounds good, bro. But how you gonna what you gonna do to take care of families right now? He will never bring that up. He will always say shit like, "Yeah, I think we should have masks as our mandate. I think we
By
should
the
take
way,
up. I think we
that's
should."
gonna lose people because
Yeah,
there are people who don't. They think that's fascist. You're taking away our freedom. How dare you mandate? Again, he's
That's
not.
why
It's like they're trying to lose. Like both sides are trying to lose.
that's why even on that point, he both sides it. He said,
yep.
I'm calling for a national mask mandate, and I don't have the power to to institute a national mandate.
So it was when I watched Biden, I'm like, my mind was going crazy because this motherfucker pissing me off because he's saying another platitudes right now. Like he was like, we need a mask mandate. We need a president that will listen to the scientists instead of uh, stoking up fear. I'm like, you're not saying anything to help the American people, and you don't even believe in the scientists yourself. If you believe in the scientists, if you believe in facts, if you believe in actual empirical evidence, you would support Medicare for all in the middle of a pandemic. You would support universal health care in the first place. You will be down for banning fracking. So he gives these speeches, and people are like, well, if you want to tackle the coronavirus, you got to support Joe Biden. Even though if you look at New York and look at a lot of blue states, you look at a lot of Democrat ran areas, they didn't handle COVID. Cuomo was a disaster. He made moves that specifically made it hard to fight COVID. He literally cut Medicaid in the middle of a pandemic. So that's how Democrats will rule in the middle of a pandemic, and the media knows this. So when they ask Biden questions like, do you think Trump is doing the wrong thing by having rallies in the middle of a pandemic? Which is a topic of conversation, but how relevant is that right now? In conversation, what you should be asking him, what are you going to do to fix the homelessness crisis when you're in charge? What are you going to do to tackle income inequality in the middle of this pandemic that led to billionaires greatly increasing their wealth while 8 million Americans went to poverty? What are you going to do to solve the problem that 50 million Americans don't have enough to eat? Like you
Yeah.
notice the difference between how I'm framing the questions and how the questions that he gets, and people think I'm going crazy. Think I'm crazy when I call the shit out. I'm like, bro, we live in a deeply unserious country where none of these very important issues that I'm bringing up is never ever discussed. Never ever discussed.
I mean,
I
think
mean,
about when Obama was campaigning, and we were at the very beginning of the financial crisis. Remember, and what did he do? What tipped people over to his side? He was campaigning on how he would on how he would handle the financial crisis. So right now, there's a coronavirus pandemic. Biden should be running on this is how I'm going to handle the coronavirus. Instead, he's just going around saying I'm not Trump.
that's what I'm saying. He could have been running on all the FDR programs we
Yep.
literally need right now, and
Mhm.
the public would
Or
support
any
it
of them.
1,000%.
Knowing that he literally like Trump, like these debates are hilarious. Cause Trump be like, "Hey yo, Joe Biden supports a great domestic policy plan. Joe Biden supports healthcare as a human right." Joe Biden be like, "No, I don't. How dare you accuse
Right.
me?
Yeah.
How dare you accuse me of actually caring about people, sir?" I'm
Like
like, bro,
I
this
give
is
less of a shit
crazy.
than you do.
He like,
It's ridiculous.
bro, I'm just as bald as paid for as you, Trump. How dare you? How dare you accuse me of supporting the
Honestly,
Green New Deal? You think I give a fuck about kids? Are you
Right.
kidding me? Like that's how he responds to Trump attacks. It's not the other way around.
No,
It,
and you got Kamala Harris. I mean, they're strategically going out there and saying, repeat after me, Joe Biden is not going to ban fracking.
yeah,
Like,
and she literally promoting that. Like, bro, why are you
right.
propping that
It's
up
not
like it's a
even,
good thing?
it's
The
crazy.
fuck?
Crazy town.
because now it's to the point where they honestly think I feel like with the Democrats, they honestly think they've already won.
Yeah,
So
I don't
what
blame
they're
him either.
doing is they're signaling to their donors because Joe Biden is bought and paid for. Joe Biden is more bought and paid for, I think, than Trump because Trump at least is a billionaire, whereas Biden, his entire money has been from being the senator from MBNA. Like all of his money is from being corrupt, essentially.
Yep.
So Biden is far more bought and paid for than Trump, but Trump is still bought and paid. Like I feel like you have to like constantly keep qualifying. Like these men are the same.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
they're not that different. So like I'm not defending Trump. He's corrupt, but I feel like Biden wins the corruption angle, which is why they're trying so hard to suppress it.
And that's
They're doing
why
everything
Trump.
they can to be like, don't look at his corruption. We're just gonna go ahead and make him president anyway.
That's why Trump doesn't make sense. Why are you not tackling more on the populist angle like you did in 2016? I mean, you going after Hunter Biden and his corruption, which I care about as an independent, as someone who care about corruption. But like, bro, your kids got so rich. Like Ivanka Trump made like $60 million in her time while she had a government job. Like that's textbook corruption. That's textbook nepotism. She got all this power, and you want to talk about Hunter Biden? So I think that's why it neutralized each other. That's why I'm like,
That's
even
why Biden was a terrible candidate, because all
yeah.
the issues you should be able to contrast, you can't with him.
Exactly. Because he's like, let's face it, the only reason why Biden isn't actually a Republican, like by name, is because where he was, you had to be a Democrat to win the Senate. So he went as a Democrat. But if you go by like ideologically, he's a Republican because he doesn't fit like 80% of the Democratic platform and never has.
Yeah, but
He
that's
was
where
not for he was against abortion. He's not pro-choice.
He's a
Like,
Ronald Reagan Democrat, pretty much.
yeah, he is pro trickle down economics. He still thinks it's a good idea. Like that right there tells you like that's why he's gonna fortify the ACA because it's a giveaway to the insurance companies.
He
completely.
he running passionately on the fact that he's not going to support Medicare for all, and in this time, in this day and age, and one of the pitches I made to voters, and something that helped me win people over, especially this really works on conservative voters, is when I explain how Medicare for all will save jobs and it will literally help increase wages. It helps save money on top of the fact that you get better healthcare outcomes and the fact that you have um, better chance to prevent massive health problems from happening before they even spark off. Because one of the reasons my grandpa passed away from lung cancer because he never ever went to the doctor because he never had a chance to. He couldn't afford it. He like even the healthcare that I do have. I still got to pay giant copays. I got to pay giant. I can't afford this, so we don't go to the doctor in our family, and we have people in our family that pass away for that, and that's a giant problem that affects the black community. So that's why I went my ass to South Carolina. And every time I talk to one of the voters, I'll be like, man, name a more pro-black platform than Medicare for all. Because if you look at
The
people who
Green New Deal.
suffer under medical debt, people who suffer under medical debt are largely African American. Like if that's a giant percentage, and that wreaks havoc on our community. Which once again, this is something that me and Jackie talk about that a lot of people neglect. Because when Joe Biden voted against those amendments in the bankruptcy bill to make it harder to get rid of medical debt, that's a anti-black legislation. Why doesn't that look like it? Why do people don't look at that like it's an anti-black legislation when it obviously is? I mean, when I use anti-black, but that's just one example. You can say that's anti-Latino. You can say that's anti-poor work class. You know what I'm getting at. So when I talk to black, I'm like, bro, this is why I go to bat for the policies I go to bat for, and this is why I find Joe Biden beyond the pale because you want to say that Trump is racist. If you want, I'm like, bro, all right, you can say Trump is racist all you want, but Joe Biden actually has policy that hurts our community. So what's worse? I mean,
he was the architect of most of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. He did. It's more than just he voted for it. He wrote them. Like when everybody's like, "Oh, the kids in cages." Yes, that's a terrible thing. How did those kids get in cages? Well, it was policies implemented through the Patriot Act. Who wrote the bill that ended up becoming the Patriot Act? We're back to square one. We're back to square one. How do you think putting him in office solves the problem that he created? That doesn't make any sense.
Well, see that, and that's where the media is always that's our. We're supposed to be saved by the media informing people some of this stuff, and they don't. They did a poll not that long ago, and most Democrats still think Joe Biden supports Medicare for all. That's where we're at.
How? Every single time he steps on stage, anytime you put a mic in front of him, he's like, fuck Bernie Sanders and everything he stands for. I'm not doing Medicare for all. My dead son. Every single time he steps out of his rabbit hole, he says that. So how are people so deluded into thinking that for some reason that somehow he is for it when all the only healthcare thing he has ever talked about is the ACA?
Because they don't ever talk about healthcare on TV.
Nope.
Because
They
they
never
don't
talk about
want
anything.
they
They'll
don't
talk.
want healthcare passed. I
So
mean, is
people
what
are
it
just
comes
not
down to.
listening to him because when he opens his mouth, he says that. He literally every time is like,
Yeah, but
fuck
like
Medicare
we're
for
all
all,
tuned into everything
ACA.
he says. We're tuned into everything he says. People that barely follow politics don't even watch the little soundbite that doesn't even include that. You know, like that'll never make a soundbite that he's gonna, you know, they don't. What's his plan on healthcare? Nobody knows it. I mean, we know it. His plan is to expand the Affordable Care Act and increase COBRA with the most unaffordable healthcare system in the entire fucking world. That's his healthcare plan in the middle of a pandemic.
You may as well just say he hates poor people because that's his
Yep.
entire platform is fuck you poor people.
Yeah,
And
but
If you're
I mean,
not at
if
least a millionaire, I don't give a shit about you. That's his.
if
That's his platform.
CNN and MSNBC ever had discussions on healthcare, that's how you get people to care about this stuff. But they, you know, it's such a lacking conversation from the public discourse about what he stands for that nobody even knows. And half the Democrats still think he supports Medicare for all. He never has supported it. I mean,
yeah, that's the big consequence of having Joe Biden as the Democratic nominee, and why. Like I look at it these days, and like we are literally a day away from the election, and I still like, man, how did Joe Biden become the nominee in 2020? So the thing I kind of want to focus on, we're about an hour and a half in. The thing we can focus on before we end the show is like where we think the direction of the country is going to head, whether Joe Biden wins or whether Trump wins. So we can do Biden first, get favorite, and we can end on Trump. And the point I was getting at is I see it being very bleak because you see polling before Joe Biden and Kamala Harris ran their propaganda campaign against fracking. Democratic voters was against fracking at like a 65 to 66% rate, around that number. They was against fracking. Then after the debate, they polled Democrats and it was down to 40%. So what the fuck is happening? So just like Barack Obama, I made this argument all the time. The reason why I made an enemy of Barack Obama is that he dragged Black Americans to the right. We are seeing Joe Biden do that again in record time. We are seeing him drag people to the right. And I was going after Pete Buttigieg during the primary, and I was still planning on going after Pete to this day. Because whether we want to admit it or not, Pete Buttigieg did drive down support for universal health care at a point. There was a point during the primary where it dipped slightly, and that was around the time when people was like, oh, I want you to be able to choose. You should have Medicare for all who won and that bullshit. So it's like, I don't want the left to be complacent. And I think a lot of left do get complacent because they see that we have popular ideas. I'm like, man, the Democrats are trying to work it the other way too. Like we're not the only one who's trying to flip public perception. The centrists are trying to flip public perception as well. So that's why you have progressives who prop up Joe Biden and they prop up the Democratic Party. They are being very short-sighted because this is an intellectual war that we're fighting. So if you give your support uncritically to Joe Biden, you are giving up ground on this battleground that we know as politics. So
yep.
what happens when Joe Biden wins and he declares that there is a moderate mandate? What I mean by that? Hey, I ran as he says this all the time when he talks about whenever he get accusations of being too far left. He says, I beat the socialists. I ran on these ideas of protecting private health insurance, and these are popular. So this is what we're gonna pursue. So people are like, oh, we're gonna put Biden to the left. No, you're not, because he's gonna say after he get inaugurated, he be like, yo, I won on this mandate, and this is what I'm gonna do. You guys vote for me. We didn't need the left to win. Exactly how I won. Just like I said. So you guys are these people are putting us in such a shady position. And even I said this before, even if you gonna vote for Biden, I will never in a million years understand these people who come out and like, oh yeah, I'm gonna vote for Joe Biden. Like they come out like, why are you telling everyone this shit? If I was voting for Joe Biden, I would just keep that shit to myself. Like why are you giving them that satisfaction of like, all right, I know I got your vote. I don't have to work for it. We can say whether they win or lose, we can blame, but especially if they win, they're like, oh, we won without the left. We won with the conservatives, like we said we're gonna do. So I never understood the strategy of the left, just giving up the vote, giving up with no fight whatsoever. Even if you want to buy it up. Once again, like people, like Twitter is a fire ground where we don't have a lot of characters. A lot of people just think I'm being unreasonable, bro. I'm not unreasonable. I promise you guys. If you're voting for Joe Biden, why can't you vote for Joe Biden? But why can't you be realistic about it? So what I get pissed off is when people are like, yeah, I'm gonna vote for Joe Biden because decency and honor and integrity is on the ballot. Shut the fuck up.
If that's the case, then you shouldn't be voting because none of them have it.
Yeah, just say you're scared of Trump. Stop bullshitting everyone. And when you say stuff like that, you literally grant them legitimacy for no reason. When you have AOC go on national television on CNN and say Obama did everything he could to get progressive policies passed, you giving Obama cover when I just said that we need to take down Obama because he's a left movement killer. So what are you doing?
That's the most disappointing thing I've ever seen from AOC, to be honest.
So once again, like, I'm not canceling people, bro. I'm just calling them out when they do stupid shit. And I saw that interview. I'm like, oh my god, okay, I gotta let them know. But once again, Twitter is a battleground. You only got so many characters. Like once again, I gave AOC props when she came with that public banking bill. I give people props when they do bad things, they do good things. And when I see the direction of the progressive movement, when they want to ignore the bad things that Barack Obama and Joe Biden do, I'm like, what do we gain politically by you doing that? Well, when you look at people I still treat as my leaders, like people I still look up to, Dr. Cornel West. Dr. Cornel West is a Biden voter. You know why I'm not mad at Dr. Cornel West? Because Dr. Cornel West says, he's like, yo, I'm going to vote for Joe Biden, but I'm not going to lie about him. And Cornel West still roasts Joe Biden. So how am I get mad at Cornel West? He's still telling it, he's just voting his conscience, but he's still telling the truth. If you voting for someone, but I feel like you're not telling the truth, I'm like, bro, I feel like you bullshitting me, and I don't like it.
He also doesn't push anybody to vote for
Exactly.
Biden either. He just says like, yeah, I'm gonna do it, but if you don't, oh fucking well,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
he pretty much tells everybody not to all the time. So, and there's no real, no good reason to vote for him. I think if you vote shame, you are the lowest form of human. Vote
like
for who
that.
you want to vote for. Nobody gives a shit. I can't believe you're gonna say this. I miss the 90s. The 80s and 90s, when it was considered taboo to even discuss who you're going to vote for, because you don't.
People used to keep that to
this
themselves.
is not good. It's not polite conversation. You can talk politics, but when it comes to who you're actually going to put on that ballot, nobody ever disclosed that back then because it was considered rude to even ask. You didn't broach the subject. And now
the people think they can
you
shame.
better vote for my candidate. Like, fuck off. I'm going to vote for whoever I want to. And I get this all the time. People are like, think of all the struggles that people like women did so that you could have the right to vote, like the suffrage act and everything, and think of like all of the blacks who died in history so that you could have the right to vote. I'm like, yeah, so that I could have the right to vote for who I wanted to vote for. So fuck off.
How that even controversial to even say? But that's the jacket we looking for, Jack. Keep it up. That's exactly the energy level that we need.
We have a question from the chat. Space.
Yeah, let's do some. Let's do some. Let's do it. Ask me, then we can log off here.
Okay. So Spaceman wants to know what we think of People's Party.
I'm a big. I like the People's Party. I talked to Nick Brandon before because I'm a big advocate of ranked choice voting. Go to nationalrankchoicevoting.org because that's one of my main focuses I'm gonna have post election. Once again, a lot of people they have misconceptions of me where they're like, "Oh, he just tweets." Like, bro, I'm out here, man. I'm part of a police abolition group. I'm part of National Ranked Choice Voting, and that's these are kind of things I'm gonna be talking about. These kind of things I'll be pushing for post election. So people are like, "What are you gonna do after the election?" I'm gonna be Biden's biggest enemy. I'm gonna be the Democrats' biggest enemy. So when I say when I advocate for National Ranked Choice Voting, I'm gonna go after all the Democrats who don't advocate for that. I'm gonna go after Biden and put pressure on him for doing that. And that's why I like movement of the People Power, the movement of the People Party, because they have the philosophy that left wing groups should have. Because when you actually listen to Nick Brandon, his theory of change is not only through electoral politics, it's through direct action. And that's why this summer he was launching Occupy Congress events where people were going to congressmen's homes. So it's not just focusing on getting people out to vote and this sham of a democracy we've run every 4 years. He actually want to put pressure on the ruling class and have activist candidates. And that's kind of candidates that I want to support moving forward. And even the reason why I like the People Party because I had questions about it originally because my first thought was I don't want someone to take the shine from the Green Party because the Green Party had with all it had a lot of flaws, but people thought we could take over the Democratic Party. So if you think we can take over the Democratic Party, why the hell wouldn't you think we can take over and fix the Green Party? Like so, I'm not the biggest fan of Howie Hawkins, but Angela Walker, she's amazing. Like, shouldn't we throw some weight behind that movement as well? We can fix any issue that the Green Party have. So I was asking people who supported the People Party, like, what are we gonna do about these two conflicting movements? But after talking to Nick Brown and talking to a lot of people in the movement party, I'm like, there's literally no reason why we shouldn't have two very strong left wing movements and progressive organizations. So why would that be beneficial? That'd be beneficial because what if you have a candidate, for example, the Green Party candidate running this area, you can have the movement party organize and help get that person elected. You can have a Green Party progressive organization help get the movement of People Party elected, and you can have two progressive organizations that can organize general strikes and who can organize Occupy Congress, who can organize direct action for ranked choice voting. So having two strong organizations, I think that could put us in a strong position. But we'll be in a much better spot at Green Party at 5%. But that's why I put ranked choice voting because if you are just if you're just pushing for the People Party without a plan to get them elected, you're wasting time. Like we are in a system that is rigged against third parties. So if you're not pushing ranked choice voting, you're wasting time if you go on for third party. I did research in my district. Like as much as I would love to run as People Party or Green Party, my the district I am in is heavily blue and heavily Democrat, and Cleaver is popular here. He won his last primary by 80% of the vote. Like we gotta be smart. I don't want to. What point of running a campaign where I just waste resources? Like I don't want you to donate to a campaign that we won't have a chance because we went third party and the votes is not rigged against us, right? Like I'd rather you donate towards like mutual aid or for another competitive race instead of just doing that. So we gotta have ranked choice voting first, and then we can work on the People's Party. But propping the People's Party up is important because they would help us get that. Because I talked to Mitch on my show before. He's the director of National Ranked Choice Voting. We can get that done by ballot initiative and by organization using the Green Party and using the People's Party resources. That's why that's important. Anyway, I'll let you guys go. I went on my rant about People Party, but overall, I'm a big fan. We need to help it grow. I wish Green Party would hit 5%. If they had hit 5% this election, I don't think they will. If I'm gonna be honest, no need to lie about it. I want that. I wish they did, but I don't think they will. But if they did, imagine Green Party hit 5%, and we had a powerful People Party movement. Only good things can
Yeah.
come for that, right? I'll let you guys think. I went on my tangent on that. Go ahead, Pat.
Well, so I mean, I'm with you in spirit 100% of the way in that, I would love to see the Green Party take off. I'm going to support MPP 100% from here. That's my emphasis is going to be way more on MPP than the Green Party. I'm a little more pessimistic about the Green Party myself.
That's fair.
I kind of think I look at where they were in 2016 and the opportunity they had and how poorly they did. And then you go from that to 2020 and you've got a divide within the party over the Howie Hawkins issue.
Yeah.
So to me, there's just no doubt they're going to do much worse this time. That doesn't mean they shouldn't get my vote. And I'm still I'm like voting tomorrow. I just don't know. Do I want to give the Greens a vote or do I want to give it to like Gloria La Riva? Does the Greens doing worse help MPP a little bit more? I don't know that balance.
Those are legitimate concerns.
So that's a real struggle with me. And I do love Greens. I love Angela Walker a ton. Not a Howie Hawkins fan.
Yeah, I hear you.
I just don't see the party being organized enough to grow from here. To me, they're on a decline.
Yeah, so and that's exactly I'm not mad at anything you just said right there because even as someone who supports the Green Party, I feel like we should put pressure on these people to get better and to grow. And whenever I hear people complain about Howie Hawkins and the Green Party, I hear legitimate concerns. Because I had a friend, Erica, she was telling me one of her biggest concerns with the Green Party, she was talking to national directors, really like, we don't really want to hurt Joe Biden and we don't hurt him too. I'm like, bitch, what the point? So there's like legitimate concerns to have green. My mindset coming into this election, um, Howie Hawkins is my lesser of two evils vote. And like people look at Joe Biden, they're like, "Oh, well, I'm voting for Joe Biden because he's lesser of two evils." Joe Biden is not the lesser of two evil. Like he is evil.
Y'all
My
got a funny
definition,
way of defining evil.
like my definition of lesser of two evil, like dang, I don't like Howie Hawkins, but I guess I pulled the trigger for him. Like that's
Right.
not a
Because
warmonger.
policy wise, at
Yeah,
least you got something,
yes.
whether you like him personally, their platform is good.
But if you don't agree with me, if you're upset, I know some people who like Dario Hunter who was upset with the way the primary went. I looked into that situation. I'm like, yeah, I feel you guys, but how he did have a lot of support too. So it's like, I hear you guys, but I understand if
Right.
they are upset and they don't want to vote. You see, y'all not going after them, right? I'm like, okay, that's fair. They fucked up. They should earn their vote. I think that's the mindset a lot of people should have in general when it comes to election because that only makes them better because the reason why I'm willing to vote for Hawkins, even though he's what I consider like someone I'm like excited for, is because I'm like, okay, so at least he checks a little bit of the boxes off. But all the criticisms that people that don't like him, the Green Party or any left movement like the People's Party can use to only make the left wing even stronger, and that what the Democrats don't understand. So when Democrats see people challenge them on legitimate issues, not dumb stuff. Like when you see me attack Obama, do you see me go after his birth certificate? Like, do you see me? You say Fox News stupid attacks on Obama? No, I attack him on substantive issues. And if they were serious people about making change, they would listen to that criticism and be like, "Oh yeah, we can get back to you. Yeah, fracking. Yeah, the fracking is bad. Let's see what the science says on it. Oh, I guess you was right. I guess we got banned for like imagine if they actually did stuff like that. I would sound like an asshole by not supporting them, but they don't, and that's how they went from a party that used to pretend to be for the workers, and now they're like unapologetically a Reagan party now, and they're openly talking about that. There's been analysis because the Lincoln Project and a lot of these Republican operatives, they're not just supporting Biden out of the kindness of their heart. They're doing it because they know that there's going to be either a position for them, a job for them, or they're going to have an administration that will be pushing their interests. And that's exactly what Joe Biden's going to be doing. Joe Biden already said um, he gave a speech, and actually he was asked this question on the debate about the Iran and Russian um, bullshit story about them trying to interfere with our election. And they said, "Well, we're gonna make Iran pay." And he said it during and I've been watching Joe Biden on Iran very closely. And to his credit, he's been pretty careful to lead up to this election about what he says about Iran. But the last few weeks, boy, boy, he since now that he know he's got more cover and he's more likely to win, he been letting us know how he really feels. And he's like, yo, he was talking about sanctions. He's like, yo, I think we need ramp up sanctions against Venezuela, against Russia, like these kind of things. I'm like, what? Like, what you guys talking about? I'm supposed to back this guy. Let's see if we got any other questions here. So
Yeah. Okay.
about 2 hours
So
in. There we
we
go. You
have
got
like 3 more questions.
all right, cool. Let's take those on because I've been ranting. Let's take
Okay.
those questions. We can.
So really quick, I'm gonna answer because I didn't answer that one.
Yeah,
the
go
first
ahead. Go
one.
ahead. Go ahead.
The MPP looks fine. So yes, I support it. A couple of questions about the guy who started it, but overall, my look on the real question is, do leftists have a play? No, not until we embrace economic. Like we have to build our party around the economic platform because there are too many disagreements on the social issues. We're never going to come together on the social issues as a whole cohesively. So we
Yep.
have to rally around the economic issues, or we're never going to be a force. We're never going to be unified.
Yeah, that's
We
fine.
have to unify around economics and only economics for right now. And the problem is you have too many people that are like, well, I want this and I want that. And that's why we can't, that's why we're infighting. We have to pick one point of focus. It's got to be economic because that's the area where you can get everybody. You can actually win over Republicans if you say like, hey, even though like I know you think that the American dream, like one day you'll be a billionaire, but right now we can help you right now. So
The
it's
one
got to
thing
be
I would
to me, it's got to be the focus of like economic issues that can help us. What were you gonna say, Pat?
Well, I would just I mean, I would disagree a little bit on that. Like the movement in the streets right now is not about economic issues. It's about social issues. So to me, making that nexus between the social and economic issues is a key part of staying in the streets and pushing back on the next administration. You know, the fact that BLM doesn't go home when Biden wins, you know, I think that movement is like it's a bigger issue than just BLM at some point. And that speaks to what you're saying a little bit, is that you're connecting it to the economic issues. But
Right.
I think we're at a tipping point now on racial justice, and I think we need to leverage that to fight for everything.
But see, the way I see it is, I feel like if Biden is elected, the tipping point goes back, and we back away from the precipice. We're no longer at a tipping point, because quite a few people are like, all right, it's solved. Biden's going to do something. And if he doesn't, then, whatever. And they're going to go back to, now, I'm not saying everybody will. You're still going to have people fighting. There were always people fighting, though. Like, that's never going to, you're never going to not have people fighting. But the numbers that we have are, if Biden is elected, I think they're going to go down until all of the economic fortifies that we have in place that expire on like January 1st. Like, that is when, again, it's about the economy. That's when people are going to go back into the streets, because that's when people are going to go like, whoa, this is affecting me. Because we're a nation that lacks empathy. Largely, we're very selfish, which is why Donald Trump is the president. Let's just be real. Like, we have the president we deserve, which is a really sad state.
Yeah.
But I think that, like, it's a situation of, as soon as things affect people in their own lives, and you can actually point to it being part of the movement. For example, like the Black Lives Matter movement is a perfect example of that, because this country has literally always been this way. It never hasn't. That's why I'm not more afraid, because I'm like, the only thing that's changed is that people are aware of it now. I remember telling white people in the 80s and 90s that Black people get pulled over more and we're treated like shit by the police.
You used to hear that in rap songs all the time.
Possibly, we could possibly get murdered just for having a tail light out. And people were telling me like, oh, that's ridiculous. They didn't believe it. The only thing that's changed is that now there's video footage of it. But the actual climate of the country hasn't changed for shit. Why would I be afraid of Proud Boys if I wasn't afraid of the Ku Klux Klan? It's the same thing.
Exactly.
That's why people are like, oh, but you have to think of minorities. Bitch, I am a minority. And my mentality has not changed at all, because nothing has changed. Because even with Joe Biden, nothing will fundamentally change.
Yep.
So that's why, like, as far as the movements, the only reason why the movement is what it is for Black Lives Matter is because, number one, a lot of people are blaming Trump. A lot of people. And so when Trump goes away, they assume the problem goes away. They're not going out in the street anymore. Done.
But I don't think that's the bulk of the people in the street. I don't think the bulk of the people in the street are Biden supporters.
I'm not saying the bulk, but I'm saying a good portion. So the numbers are going to go down. I'm saying if Biden gets elected, the numbers of people in the street are going to go down until those people are affected by the housing crisis, until Pelosi still doesn't approve of a stimulus. Again, it's that economic hit. When it hits their pockets, then everybody's going to go out in the street. Until that happens.
But I'm with you, and I think that's going to happen. And I think you are going to get sort of a melding of issues in the streets.
Right. So that's what I meant by that. Going on to the next one, somebody asked, what do you guys think of Bernie's 100-day plan? Meganator asked that.
I haven't even read it. I don't know.
Yeah,
I haven't either.
I don't listen to Bernie right now.
Let me pull it up. Yeah, like the thing is, like I seen maybe only one stream with Bernie Sanders ever since he dropped out. Let's see. It said Bernie Sanders reveal 100-day plan. I'm trying to see what his 100-day plan is. Let me.
Okay, while you look that up, I'm going to move on to the next question. Does 4 more years of Trump do more harm than a potential 8 years of Biden? My response was, there's no such thing as 8 years of Biden.
There's 2 years of Biden.
Yeah, like Biden has said himself, he's not going to go for another 4. He can't. But I personally don't think there's even like a full year of Biden, because I'm thinking that like within the year, if he gets elected, before 2021 is over, Harris will be president.
Exactly.
I mean,
And my question, like the question, my response to that, I'm like, it's the same. It will be the same. And people ask me like, how can you say that? How can you say it'll be the same no matter who wins between Trump or Biden? I'm talking about the next 4 years because 2024 the same situation no matter what happens because there's no way that Biden's gonna last these 4 years and he already heavily hinted to the fact that he only gonna have one term. So in 2024 we're gonna battle against the neoliberals. That doesn't change whether Trump or Biden is the presidency. So we're gonna be in the same position where we need our team to nut up and actually call out the Democrat establishment. So that's what we need to do for one. So that doesn't change whether Biden or Trump wins. And what issues necessarily change when you look at Joe
It
Biden
does
gonna win or
change a
not?
little bit though. I disagree with you on that because if Biden, if well, not Biden, but Harris, if she's the incumbent, then we're not going to be able to go against. We're not going to like Dems aren't going to let
And that's where the
aren't going
progressive
to let us
movement really
progressives
get
run
tested
against
because
her.
we would have to run. This is what I don't get with people who back Biden. I do agree with you on that point because you are granting Kamala and you granting that wing of the party so much power because it's gonna be so hard to take them out as they come. So I actually do agree with your point there. And now if you look at the substantive issues, because that's what I want to focus on once again is the actual real issues. We already talked about the COVID crisis. We already brought the homelessness crisis. What exactly changed? Whether Biden, because Trump been talking about he want to make a deal. He been bringing it up, and Nancy Pelosi and them they've been playing politics. Trump obviously been playing politics too. He could have been done much more. But would Trump actually support a UBI that would change the situation? When you look at the foreign policy situation, I mean, we've been recently celebrating the Bolivian coup and how they won, the leftists in Bolivia won. Joe Biden and Elizabeth Warren, they all make statements that was supporting of the right wing faction, the neoliberal fascist faction in Bolivia. They are supportive of Venezuela and the right wing faction in Venezuela. They are buddy up with Jeff Bezos and they already cut sweet deals with them all the time, getting them tax breaks. Barack Obama made Bush tax cuts permanent. Literally, he didn't have to do that. They had sunset clause. He didn't have to do that. And I don't trust Joe Biden won't turn around and do the same thing. Like when you look at the Wall Street cabinet, do you look at the people that he's surrounded himself with? When I look at economic policy, I see him still doing that. I still see him supporting these neoliberal trade deals. He I brought it up before, but he recently commented on North Korea and he attacked Trump on the right on that issue, where he said he wouldn't double down on sanctions on North Korea. He'd double down on sanctions on Venezuela. He said he wants to support police budgets as well. And he was bragging and like he gave a big speech where he was like, "Oh, George Floyd, all these people, Walter Wallace Jr., they're not gonna be forgot in our administration." And I'm like, bro, you realize Kamala Harris did not prosecute one cop her entire career, right? Not one cop. Like these are the people you expect that are gonna change stuff. These people that want to give more money to the police budgets.
right.
Like,
Yeah.
what are we talking about here? So I'm talking about like, so I'm not gonna be. Let me add one qualifier. So you know I'm not 100% saying. Yeah, there is maybe some small differences. Those differences we don't know. Like people are like, oh, Biden got this platform, he's saying this and that. You gonna believe the pathological liar on these things? Like he literally even the Biden campaign already walking back the public option already, like with no pressure. So the reason why I believe I'm gonna go on a tangent. I'll let you guys go after right after this. So the reason why I believe Bernie Sanders wasn't just because he said he support progressive policy. He had a game plan to get there, and his game plan to get there was to put pressure on blue dog Democrats. Do you really believe that Joe Biden gonna put even an inch of pressure on any Democrat in the House or Senate to pass progressive policy? Not a fucking chance. So how are you gonna get any of
He
these things?
literally said he's going to veto a progressive policy if it comes across his desk.
And yeah, they already walking back public options. So people who bring up platform to me are clowns. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it because you literally believe in campaign promises from this guy, the guy who say he have no empathy for young people. I don't buy it. So that's why I say
Kamala did too.
so if there's any difference we're gonna see, it's gonna be one of the differences we'll be like, oh, I guess I told you so, or it'd be one of the things we see beyond before the fact or after the fact. Because once he get in office, he's gonna run completely different how he was campaigning. Because once again, he doesn't run on that centrist mandate. We already seen the people he flaw in his cabinet. Elizabeth Warren is center left at best, as far as I'm concerned. At best, I don't even consider her that because I don't consider foreign policy to be progressive enough to be considered anywhere on the left. But even she couldn't get a job potentially in the Biden administration. You think that he's gonna give us anything at all? You think he's gonna fight for anything at all? So that's where I stand on that. So I'll let you guys go. I went on my tangents again. I can't shut up. But go ahead, Pat. I'll let you chime in. What are you thinking, brother?
Well, I was just thinking specifically about in 2024. I think progressives are going to be in a really strong position if it's Kamala Harris they're running against.
Very interesting.
Because I think you're looking at, okay, what's the path of the country right now with neoliberalism and where are we headed? It's going to be worse in 4 years, and you're not going to be able to blame Republicans for it. So the argument we've made for the last 4 years as progressives is going to be amplified and more obvious to more people in 2024.
Yeah.
And it's going to be at the hands of Democrats, you know. So
I think the opposite, though.
I think we're in.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I think that it's going to be the exact opposite, because that's why they don't want to flip the Senate. That way, when they don't get things done, they can pull the Obama of like, yeah, we had the House and we had the presidency, but we didn't have the Senate.
They just want to fundraise off of them. Yep.
Exactly. So I think it's going to be the opposite. I don't think that, and because remember, who controls the media? The media is who tells people how to think. The media is telling everybody the exact opposite of what you're saying. Like, we're saying we're not going to get anything. We're saying, like, look, nothing's going to happen. You're not going to get any progressive policies. That's true. That's going to happen. But at the end, the media is still going to blame Republicans, because you have to have your scapegoat. Right now, it's all Trump's problem. Everything is because of Trump. Mitch McConnell is a great person to put everything on. You just got to have your scapegoat, and they're going to just keep the scapegoat.
Of course,
just moves around.
That's obviously the argument they're going to make. The question is, do progressives will we gain ground with our position in 4 years? I mean, if you have an actual Democratic president, you know, putting everything on to Congress, and Congress's popularity is already rock bottom. So our argument is only going to get stronger that both parties aren't working for us.
Yeah, exactly.
In my opinion.
So I think that our argument was the strongest when Obama got elected. He ran on progressive policies. He had a progressive movement behind him, and he had Congress. He had the whole thing, and he did none of it. And we're sitting here saying they're going to do that again, and they're not listening to us. And the media is the one who's controlling the narrative, and the media is going to continue to control that narrative. That's why I don't think it's going to be any different. I don't think they want to flip the Senate, because they want to be able to blame Congress on their.
Of course, I 100% agree. I just disagree on how the public is going to take that in 4 years after 4 years of a Democratic president and 4 years of blaming the Republicans, when they're already sick of blaming the Republicans. Yep. You know, the woefully lacking response that the Democrats are going to have to the economic situation of people are facing. You know, that's why Bernie was able to rise up in the first place. And all those situations are going to get worse. The only difference is, who do we have as a leader? That's the only question to me in 2024.
Speaking of, there's another question in Twitch. Within the framework of ACAB and abolition, how do we reconcile Nina's cop adjacency, former cop husband and current cop son? This is not being addressed by the left and already being weaponized by K-Hive.
That's a good question, but once again, K-Hive missed the mark once again. And I'll put it in this context. I love and I appreciate class traders, right? Meaning, if you come from a background that was very privileged, and you down for the cause, you support Medicare for all, you support a living wage, support Green New Deal, you support progressive down ballot candidates. Because there was a lot of very privileged progressives that I know, people who have money, who use their privilege as a way to donate to a ton of down ballot candidates. So how can you be upset with that person? That person is what I effectively call a class trader. And now we love class traders, right? So using that context, shouldn't you love a cop trader in that sense? So imagine someone who had family who was a cops, who may have learned more about the police culture because they have family as cops, but they support the policies that we are addressing. Like, for example, if you support disarming the police, which I think is the most basic reform. Like, if you look at reforms that you can do to fix the broken fascist police state we live in, that should be the most basic one. Like, for example, when you look at Walter Waller Jr., I was talking about that during his death. why is there a police answering that call that have guns? Why? Like we can even make it even a more moderate solution. You can have some people, some forces within the police for to have a gun who can respond to violent situations. But for example, you have Walter Wallace. There is no reason to have any public official with a gun in that situation, none whatsoever. So if you're not even supporting that moderate stance, you beyond the pale. But if Nina Turner comes out and she runs in 2024 and she supports stuff like disarming police officers and she supports the concept of defunding police and reallocating that to mental health, mental illness programs and education programs, or any way the public want to distribute those funds. I don't know how we can hold that against Nia Turner just because she has those relationships, because she would be an effective cop trader in that sense. But on the same end, if she come out and then she's like watered down her platform regarding criminal justice, then yeah, guess who's gonna be one of the first people to call her out if she does that? Me. But I haven't seen any indication that, unless I'm wrong. I mean, unless you guys see something I haven't seen her show any indication that she's gonna be weak on criminal justice. But I did see people bring that up. But I'm like, I don't. I'm not buying that attack. And you guys know I'm more than willing to give anyone criticism, even Nina, because during the whole John Kasich situation, we talked about that on Black Rose. I'm like, hey, I don't think she should have done that. I wanted to criticize her on that, but I'm not sure if this is something I'd be willing to criticize her on. What do you guys feel about that?
No, I agree. I mean, what do you? It's not like she has a choice on like, okay, so she's
Yeah.
gonna abandon her son and her father. I mean, she's fighting for the right causes. That's all you can do.
Yeah, and anyone who know anything about police abolition theory, I mean, even if you're someone who supportive of the police, a lot of these reforms will help your family out as well. Because why will we have police trained to do stuff they're not personally trained to do? Like you can have more time actually going after cases that you find important. Like for example, I would like legalize all drugs, legalize marijuana at the minimum, legalize marijuana. So you spend less time going after drug dealers, so you can spend your time as an officer doing things that are a little bit more important than that. You can actually protect and serve. So like when I'm looking at it, I'm like, man, if you're a police officer, your lifestyle would be much more morally righteous. You should be able to sleep at night much more under the policies I put. So I don't see why you wouldn't even support like even the basic reforms I support, even if you was a cop, right? Hey, like why would you even be for that? So I'm not gonna hold it for someone who knows a cop. My whole thing is like when you see police culture and when you see the cop that killed Breonna Taylor, she's suing her boyfriend. It's like where are the good cops in that scenario? Why is there no good cops around him? Like, hey, dude, fuck, back off, bro. They all, I bet you, they all supportive of him doing that. So once again, that's why I say ACAB, because all these bastards not saying anything. But if you are a cop that do say something, I'll give you a bone. But where the culture that's supposed to shut this shit kind of shit down? Because I saw that story and that pissed me off, and that just shows that there is something that's deeply wrong within police culture, and that's why they defend terrorists like the people who want to kidnap the Mexican governor. He was good friend, like the police chief back then. He was good friends with one of the people that are part of that conspiracy. They super close to white supremacists. That what they are, and I think that's the problem. But if you got a cop trader, I'm not gonna hate you for that. I'm gonna hate you on your policy. So if Nina comes up weak in 2024, we will know why and we'll call out for that. So that's why I stand on that. Any other
You know,
questions?
well, I was just going to mention that the Nina thing was funny because I actually did her show. It
Oh,
hasn't aired yet.
dope.
It hasn't aired yet because I don't know, long story. But anyway, I did go after Kasich and she kind of pushed back on it. And this before this
Hey,
thing
you got
broke.
balls, dude. You said it right in front of her face too. Damn.
Well, this was she recorded it before all that happened. But she was, just to defend her a little bit, she was at that time still giving him props just for coming together with him on that narrow issue, which is why she said she had him on the show. You know, so it wasn't like, I don't feel like Nina was really trying to rebuild Kasich to present him positively to Democrats. I
Yeah.
think it was bad timing because there is a movement among Democrats to rebuild Kasich. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just going to back Nina up a little bit on it. That's all.
I hear you. I'm far from ready to cancel Nina on that. Um, my main point was like we should have no heroes. So
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
I saw her response to that, and she kind of flipped out. I remember she flipped out on Peter died. I'm like, I feel like Peter didn't even. I feel like he wasn't even that mean, bro. Chill. I like chill. But I'm not too mad at her for that because I don't get really upset when I hear whenever the people on the left that talks to go on Fox News. Like I don't get mad at people who just for going on Fox News. The way same way I don't get mad at Mac Bloomthal for doing that. Same way I don't get mad at Glenn Greenwald for doing that. I think we can't ignore a giant part of the population because I'm if you truly believe in your politics, you truly believe that you can win those people over. I truly believe that there's not too far gone people. There are literally some people that listen to that media just because the massive amount number they have that we can peel off from, and that shows and polls as well. The right leaning independent, they float around, I guess. But I think we can't ignore that. So I don't get mad at people no matter where they come from talking to people on level. So that's why if you look at my timeline, I didn't make a big stink out of it. But I knew why people was upset because it did seem shady because like it was right after like the Democrat did their push for John Kasich. So
Yeah.
and I think we need to go after John Kasich because they already flown the idea that he may have a cabinet position. And anyone who knows John Kasich, I mean, he's a notorious homophobe, very anti-abortion. He's gutted workers' rights, anti-union. So he one of
So is Joe
those.
Biden?
Uh,
So he's Joe Biden.
yeah, exactly. He's
Okay.
literally the Democrat. He's the Democrat Party. They are Ronald Reagan Democrats now. That's exactly what the brand they're looking for. So, do you have any other questions here? What we got here?
Yeah, there was one more question. So really quickly, my point on that is I didn't sign up to be part of a cult. I didn't stand Bernie. I stand his policies. It was all
Yeah,
about his policies. So when it comes to Nina Turner, like I'm not looking for some celebrity to follow. I give a fuck about celebrities
there it
or about
is.
politicians. It's about the policies. As long as she continues to push the right policies, I will continue to support her. If she turns her back on that, I turn my back on her. It's that simple as far as
Yeah,
I'm
and I think
concerned.
that's why so many people reacted strongly to Nina because we're so used to like being just let down in politics. And if we lose Nina, we're really going to be in a bad place.
Yeah,
So
because she was
people
the
reacted
best fighter.
super strongly to
Yeah,
that.
we are sensitive right now. I mean, we took a massive
Yeah.
L this year, so especially now we're in a position where we don't know who the fuck is gonna be our leader right now. So Nina is like the front runner, so we don't want to see her acting up. I think that's
Right.
where it came from mostly. And there's just so many people that have been beat up by this year. I mean, at the end of the day, no matter how you twist it, the people gonna try. They say shit like, "Oh well, we'll get Bernie on some sort of fucking committee." No, we lost, bro. This is an L. No matter how you twisting it. Um. So yeah, substantively, I do want to hear that because she pushed back on me a little bit in the chat. I don't mind that. They said going on a right wing platform is not the same thing as promoting a right winger. I hear you. Um, I don't disagree with that either. Like I said, I don't really disagree with that. But I don't get mad at people for talking to someone who's on the right because I'm from a red state. I used to sell cars. I used to talk to Republicans all the time. And I always told the story when I was in South Carolina. I talked to a black Republican, and the thing is, I didn't even necessarily even turn him, but I made him understand where we came from. I told a story on Black Rose before, where how I think no, I don't think it was Black Rose. I think I was talking to Katie Jane, and he was a black Republican, and he was really far right on social issues. And I remember I flipped him because he used to talk about he like, man, these Democrats, they support policies that create single parent households. He like the reason why black men live with single mothers is because Democrat ran cities. Like he literally said typical black Republican shit. So I was like,
Yeah.
so where we agree on the fact that you want black kids to be in a better position. And I had my friend Becky with this. She was a conservative that liked Bernie Sanders, so this was perfect. She was there to back me up. This is that kind of conversation where I was like, okay, so if you want a better situation for black kids, what would be a better situation for them to have health care and for their parents to have more wages? And when I brought that up, he was like, "Yeah, that would actually help." Like it was like super easy to cut in. So I just asked him where he was coming from. I'm like, "Oh, so you want the black family to do better, right?" Yeah. I'm like, "So how would progressive policies do that?" And he was like, "Yeah." And then after the end of the conversation, I squared the full story. He was like, "Yeah, I still hate Democrats. I still hate Joe Biden. I still hate all of them, but." I don't mind their politics. I didn't flip him. He didn't say he's gonna vote for Bernie, but I plant a seed, and that's why I think you should talk to conservative. So you can criticize Nina for not taking that approach, or you can criticize anyone for not taking that approach when they talk to conservatives. But that's the value of talking to conservatives, and that's what you learn when you live in a red state, when you can't run away from that conversation. Like people, I think some leftists who live in like California and New York who don't have to deal with that shit. I think they're the ones who are more comfortable. I'm not accusing you of saying that either, substance. The person I'm responding to, I'm not accusing you of that. I'm just saying in general. I see people who live in blue states. They're much more comfortable of the idea of casting out conversation with the right wing. I don't think that's how we win in the long term. How you guys think about that, Pat? Jackie, you got any thoughts on that?
I mean, California is such a democratic state that yeah, we don't really we don't feel the need to have the conversations with the polar right. That's just a bunch of nutters here, you know.
Okay, he lives in the middle of California, so I technically live in a red county. It's California, but the county is red, Orange County.
Yeah.
It's like
yeah. I'm just speaking
Trump
to
had
Nick's
a rally
point
down here like last week or 2 weeks ago. So
I'm just speaking to your point, Nick, that you know we don't have those discussions as much as people do in the other states because it's important because you're a red state. You want to reach people more. We feel like in California in general, it's such a democratic state. That's why so many people tune out of politics here.
Yeah.
Like you're just so like, we're
That's
blue.
true. Yeah. That's true. That's a different dynamic to deal with.
personally,
Go ahead, Jackie.
I personally think that it's stupid not to talk to everybody. I don't understand why liberals think that it's a good thing to bash Republicans and call them stupid and point out their poverty and be like, "Oh, you're just a dumb redneck." That's the dumbest thing you
Yeah,
can do.
they do it all the time
Don't
too.
you want allies? Don't you want to bring people to your side? Why would you bash them? Why don't you look at them and be like, "Why do you think the Republicans are going to help you? Here's why they won't, or
Right.
here's why we will." That's how you win people over. Like, don't you want to win people over? Why are you trashing people who could potentially vote for you? You could change their minds. Like it's mind-boggling to me how they're sitting here trying to talk about Arizona and Florida could possibly flip blue, which they won't. But they're like sitting here thinking that that's going to happen. How? Because you trashed them?
Like, yeah, you
Because
didn't
you went after them? Because you called them idiots and
right.
rednecks? And like, how is that going to win anybody to your side?
Wavy God NYC said lives talk with their emotions, not with their brains. That's exactly what it is. Instead of being strategic about this and be like, yeah, I think we should win some of these disenfranchised Republicans. That oh no, fuck them, bash them. They deplorables. We shouldn't talk to them ever. That's short sighted. It's politics. It's not a team sport. They treat it like a team sport where you're like, all right, you can't talk to them. You can't be friends with them. You can't know them. It's not realistic, brother. You can't you can't live that. You can't build a movement that way. And we talked about Movement People Party earlier. They literally opened about the fact, like, bro, we gotta win over Republicans. We gotta win over working class white people. We gotta win over right wing leaning independents. And their platform is able to do that because it's a populist platform, a platform that, if you look at independents, for example, 68% of independents support Medicare for all. Majority of independents support ending the war. They support legalizing marijuana. Like, bro, we can win long term with these issues by attacking the grassroots instead of just telling them to fuck off. Like, liberals would love that because they don't want the populist policies to be implemented. So, are there any other questions we missed here? Where we at here?
Nope. I think we caught up to all the
All
questions.
right, cool. So we did about 2.5 hours actually. So this is pretty awesome election debate breakdown. So I should be on Convo Couch tomorrow. Nico and Pharrell's Isabel's show or whatever. I think they're gonna have a panel, just going over elections, and then Wednesday we're gonna have what the left should do from here panel. Jackie should be there. Erica should be there as well.
I think coming back for that, Pat.
Yeah, Pat, you welcome to go. Like if you're free Wednesday, you can come if you want to do a follow up. Sleep is social savvy, Erica. I heard back from them. They said they maybe will come in. I'm gonna try to get Rome too. I think Rome said he might be good Wednesday too. So right now I'm thinking it'll be me, Jackie, and make my co-host Alex. She may join as well. It'll be. I want to do a decent panel. I want a lot of people to be there post election. Erica, the white trash socialist, Savvy, sleepy socialist, and Pat if he's willing to come as well. But that's one thing we to do Wednesday. It'll be around the same time, 4 p.m. Eastern time. So if all you guys want to watch that, that's what we're gonna do. So, and I have some things planned on the weekend. I announced that on Wednesday for now. But if you haven't already, subscribe, follow. I know I really appreciate the action we got so far. Looking at this video, but I usually always upload these streams on YouTube. Usually tonight. I should have it up tonight. My internet sucks, so we see what happens. It should be up tonight or by at least tomorrow. So you guys see the replay of this. I have Pat the Burner's information, Jackie. Most of you guys who watch the show for a while know Jackie. She's my co-host pretty much. She keep this shit running. But anyway, anything you guys want to sign off here? Anything you want to say before we sign off here? I give you guys the floor.
I should pimp my book.
Oh, go ahead, brother.
So you haven't mentioned Yes Queen at all.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
right.
go ahead. Let's do that.
So I run a parody account. It's the second book I've written, making fun of the shit libs and pointing out a lot of the media problems and where the Democratic Party's fucked up. So if you want to read about it, it's the Yes Queen Chronicles. It's about a fictional forum of shit libs, like on one of these college tour kind of things.
Yeah, we like it.
But go to savageandpat.com and check out the book.
All right, cool. Let me type it in the chat here. Let's do it properly.
I just did.
Oh, you
It's already
did?
in there.
All right,
Yeah.
cool. So they can follow from there. Anything you want to say here, Jackie, before we sign off here officially?
Welcome to the shit show.
Thank you guys for watching. Check me out Wednesday.